Iron Man does whatever an iron can? That doesn't sound right. Hello and welcome to Android Weekly. This is RICKY, the Android Guy. Let's see what's going on in the world of news, well, more tech news this week. So, global shipments dip for the first time, so that's right, guys. It is slightly down from a year past, and oh my god, it dipped 1%. So, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But it shows it's not really growing as much. I mean, since it's just all phones, I mean, you can't really dock it that much. I mean, smartphones are now selling feature phones for the first time ever in Q1. But now in Q1, we're also selling a little bit less phones overall, but about 1%, so it's not that big of a deal. We did see some changes, though, in percentages between different companies. So Samsung, of course, grew the most, going from 92 million to 106 million. And percentage-wise, going up from 25% of all phones sold to 29% of all phones sold. So kudos to Samsung on that. In terms of Nokia, they took the biggest hit, I believe, going from 82 million units now to 62. So a bit of a hit, 20 million units less. In terms of Apple, they went from 35 million to 37 million, so about 2 million more. LG actually had a nice increase too, from 13 million units to 16 million units. So, oh, I forgot to say percentages. Nokia is now at 16% of all phones sold, Apple is 10%, and LG is 4.3%. In terms of others, one that took a big hit is ZTE, and this is mostly because of Samsung, Apple, and LG kind of hitting their territory, which is China. So ZTE dropped from 19 million units to 13 million units. I think it's just better quality kind of showing, especially in China. ZTE was the dominant one, but they just don't feel as nice, I would say. I would say Huawei makes a little bit more premium ones in terms of materials over in China. But yeah, so that's one thing we've seen. In terms of other news, HP, guys. So there's been a lot of rumors on what's going to happen, what's happening with HP. So for one, they have their new Slate tablet available. So that's an Android 7-inch tablet for $170, and it does have Beats audio built into it. So for $170, it's decent, but it's a dual-core processor. I mean, I think it's the main thing that I don't like about it. I mean, really, I understand the price point is only $170, so it doesn't have to have everything. It is Android 4.1 only, too, so that's another thing, you know, that, again, not current version, but I guess it's, for $170, you can't expect that much. It's more convenient with Kindle Fire HD, just the regular Kindle Fire. But since the Samsung Galaxy Tab discounts to that price, I guess that would be the closest competitor. But we'll see. We'll definitely get it for the channel and check it out, that one, and comparing to the next one we're going to talk about, which is the Samsung Galaxy Tab 3. So this is the new 7-inch on the market. No word on the 10-inch yet. But for the new Samsung 7-inch, it's another dual-core processor. 1.2 gigahertz on this one. 8 gigs or 16 gigs of storage. Still expandable with a micro SD card slot. It's a 3 megapixel rear camera still, and they did up the front megapixel to 1.3. And it is still the same resolution, unfortunately, only 1024 by 600. This seems to kind of be the low-end resolution for the 7-inch tablets. And again, with Android 4.1, not 4.2 out of the box. Shame, Samsung. And it's supposed to globally launch in May, this one. So, pretty interesting. The most thing noticeable about it, it's a better design. So it's lighter, thinner, narrower, and it takes its design cue from the Note series. Or, well, rather the S3 Note 8 series, really. So yeah, it's that same form factor. So you have the home button in the middle, the menu in the back button, and you have the 2 sensors at the top. So pretty interesting to see how this one turns out. This is another one, of course, we will again review when it comes out. Now, Google I/O has been on a lot of people's minds, and we have some possibly disappointing news. We have seen now some pages in code that show us that Android 4.3 Jelly Bean is coming to the Nexus 7. Now, what that means? Well, since we haven't seen 4.3 yet, and Google wouldn't release a 4.3 and 5.0, at least we don't think at the same time, or if they would, they wouldn't release it on a Nexus device, which would obviously get the newest version of Android. So, since they would release it, which means Google I/O in about 2 weeks, May 15th, might be Android 4.3 Jelly Bean announcement, not key lime pie announcement. So that's a little disappointing. I mean, we're probably not going to see a big change then. I mean, it's just probably going to be more little tweaks. Like on 4.2, what do we get? We got Photosphere, we got lock screen widgets, we got the toggle at the top. For tablets, we got multiple users. So those were the differences from 4.1 to 4.2. Screensaver as well. So those are the kind of differences. What will 4.3 bring? It's going to be probably subtle differences like that. They were really cool, though. I mean, I'm glad to have lock screen widgets, especially on my S4. So it's something that I use now. So what would you want to see in 4.3 if it's a subtle difference? More people are just saying that it's just more buttery, more refinement. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And speaking of Google, they sometimes make questionable changes. So one of them that a lot of Android users, including myself, as an Android user, I'm disappointed in, is that they brought Google Now to iOS devices. Now, this was one of the arguably the best thing about Android 4.1. When Jelly Bean came out, Google Now was it. It was the best voice assistant out there. It beat Siri, it beat S-Voice, everything was just nothing compared to it. And it did really well. Now, although Google Now will most likely not have, say, the scheduling capabilities of that it does on Jelly Bean, like schedule this appointment or, call this person. Although it might not have all of those features, it will have, obviously, things like, navigation, events, and certain things like that, and all your cards, so like your favorite teams, and your stocks, all those kind of things, whether you'll have all that there. So it's kind of curious to see why Google did this. Now, from a company standpoint, you have to realize that Google still makes more money off of searches and information. So the more places it's available, the more money Google makes. But so it really seems like, a money reason instead of like catering to your brand, which is of course Android. So I don't know. I mean, I know why Google does this. Like they brought Google Maps to iOS, they brought Google Now to. You're giving a lot of your own products that people love on Android to there, and it might make people easier to switch at the same time. Because if you love Google Now on iOS, you're like, man, I really like this. Okay, well, Google's really good at a lot of things. Maybe I'll go check out their Android phone. You're not as, hesitant to go, maybe. We'll see. Another tablet, well, two more. This is just a tablet news week. Sony Xperia Tablet Z is now available for pre-order. It's going to be shipping on May 24th. But the thing that gets to me is about the price point. Now, this is the tablet Cradle bundle, so you get a dock for it, basically. But it's $599. That doesn't make sense, Sony. It is a 32 gig model. Now, upon reading further, it seemed like you could actually get the model by itself for $500, but that's still a 32 gig model for $500, which isn't bad, but I think we're really at the point where tablets, especially 10-inch tablets, kind of need to be more the $400, $450 price point. It just seems more fitting. But, we'll see how it does. I don't think Sony has a strong enough presence to really compete one-on-one at the high-end price point. I think they're going to end up doing what they did with their last two tablets, which is drop price to be able to sell. So we'll see. I mean, this is a beautiful looking tablet. It's supposed to be one of the lightest out there and definitely the thinnest. So I can't wait to play with it. We're definitely going to for the channel. It's one I really like. So we'll see. Maybe it'll completely wow everyone and they'll do it just as soon as they have better marketing, because you can check out the Easteria Tablet Z commercial. It has a three-legged dog taking a bath with the tablet. And if you don't believe me, search it on Google or YouTube, and it's just, yeah. I don't know. And the final article for the day and the final tablet coming out is the Easteria A1. It is a 8-inch tablet, or rather 7.9-inch tablet, made to compete with the iPad mini, now the Galaxy Note 8. So this tablet has a lower price point. It's supposed to be similar to a $199 price point, but the idea behind it is that you have a lower resolution. You do have a quad core, but it's from a company that I haven't seen at least make quad cores, or that many at least. I mean, they're not a big company, but MediaTek. 1.2 quad core with an A9 Cortex, 1 gig of RAM, 8 gig or 16 gigs of storage, and a 5 megapixel autofocus camera, and a VGA on the front. Now, if we look at these specs, that's actually pretty dang good for, like, you know, comparing to the 7 inches we just mentioned earlier. However, you know, Acer is usually hit or miss with their quality, so we kind of have to wait for judgment until it comes out. Unfortunately, and this one is also going to be packing 4.1. Why don't you have 4.2 on any of these tablets? Even the Sony didn't have 4.2, actually, now that I think about it. But yeah, guys, those are a lot of tablets coming out that you can all look forward to seeing on the channel. And which one are you, out of all the devices we talked about, which one are you most excited for? Is there any particular one that you definitely want to see videos on, or you need to, or want to see how it compares to the tablets that are on the market right now? Please let me know. Thank you for watching. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.